to cater to the slows. Shout out to W360. The commitment to the slows is just throwing money down the drain. Opening up the window, taking a duffel bag of cash, and just throwing it out the window of a moving car. That's what they're doing with their resources. You look at A'ja Wilson's signature shoe, her logo, resources wasted. You look at the Paige Bueckers Nike logo. Does this look like they really wanted to do this, or they were just catering to that crowd? So they said, oh, let's just get up Paige and let's give her a logo. Let's cater to the crowd.
Nike's purported dedication to Paige Bueckers was a blatant deception. Before the greatest stage, a double bag of cash was tossed out of a moving automobile, putting her career in jeopardy. This wasn't only an error. Athletes' potential was actively undermined, demonstrating that they were never genuinely invested. The poor marketing and the uninspired partnerships all suggested that the goal was more about appeasement than true star-making. She was essentially fired from the path she earned because the firm, which many of us grew up with, seemed to purposefully set her up for failure. Many questioned whether this was actually how they treated their players after witnessing this startling display of corporate disdain. The whole thing cried out for squandered resources, laying the groundwork for an unavoidable breakdown.
Wasted. You look at the Paige Bueckers Nike logo. Does this look like they really wanted to do this, or they were just catering to that crowd? So they said, oh, let's just get up Paige and let's give her a logo. Let's cater to the crowd. PB. Paint bucket. This looks like a paint can. This doesn't look like they're all in on Paige. This looks like they threw something together just to appease the slows. Fair enough. You look at Caitlin Clark, the Wilson basketball, selling like hotcakes. The Kobe PEs, selling like hotcakes. The Barbie, selling like hotcakes. The action.
Take a look at her Nike emblem. A straightforward PB that strangely looks like a paint can. This was not an indication of sincere excitement. Instead of honoring a star, it was a hastily put-together afterthought meant to placate the slows. It lacked genuine passion and artistry, a sharp contrast to the conventional branding of elite athletes. It was evident that a firm was only going through the motions rather than investing in a captivating story for one of the most talented players in the game. Paige was left with a symbol that felt more like a duty than an honor as a result of their superficial approach, which was a glaring red flag and suggested deeper problems with their endorsement strategy.
Fair enough. You look at Caitlin Clark, the Wilson basketball, selling like hotcakes. The Kobe PEs, selling like hotcakes. The Barbie, selling like hotcakes. The action figures, selling like hotcakes. The Funko Pop, selling like hotcakes. Merchandise, selling like hotcakes. T-shirts, selling like hotcakes. It's not the same case with everybody else. And now the latest company to just take money and throw it down the drain is a company I grew up with. It's a company I grew up with. I think many of us had these. Paige Bueckers signs a deal with Lego as she prepares to be the next.
Nike was not the only company to exhibit this trend of careless investing. There were initial concerns about her arrangement with Lego, which was intended to improve her status. In a Target or Walmart toy box, how many children, or perhaps their parents, actually recognized Paige Bueckers? The branding seemed disjointed, a forced attempt to capitalize on a brand without the necessary market presence. It suggested a business strategy centered on checking diversity boxes rather than fostering genuine universal appeal, mirroring the Nike logo's lack of sincere effort. She became even more isolated from the general public as a result of this misunderstanding, which confused both her fans and possible new audiences.
Paige Bueckers signs a deal with Lego as she prepares to be the next signature athlete. Now, my question to you. How many kids know who Paige Bueckers is? Number one. How many kids' parents know who Paige Bueckers is? Number two. And if you're walking in a toy store, whether it's Target, whether it's a toy section at Walmart, and you see this face on a box, who knows who this is? Seriously, who knows who this is? Same thing with the Nike logo that I said. Just
In contrast, Caitlin Clark's products, Wilson basketballs, Kobe, Barbie dolls, action figures, Funko Pops, and t-shirts are all quite popular. Genuine customer demand and corporate engagement differed significantly, as the market made clear. Paige's campaigns struggled to acquire traction, whereas Clark's endorsements were greeted with huge public enthusiasm and instant sellouts. However, this stark difference wasn't solely due to individual popularity. It exposed a basic weakness in the way businesses were dealing with and marketing various sportsmen, considering some as real investments and others as merely stand-ins, squandering important words.
and you see this face on a who knows who this is? Seriously, who knows who this is? Same thing with the Nike logo that I said, just thrown together, pieced together real quickly on the fly because they're not really fully invested, so they're just putting it out to put it out. They're not taking their time, they're just putting out slop to put out slop, so the slows can cheer and do backflips. Folks, if I didn't tell you who this was, I wouldn't even know myself. If I wasn't told who this person...
The sneaky reality started to show. We were under tremendous pressure to use Paige Bueckers. This growth was not organic. ESPN, WNBA reporters, Nike, and Lego all made a conscious effort. They were all trying to create a story that the public didn't really connect with. The reasoning was straightforward. Rather than being a true market-driven superstar, she is a convenient option for performative endorsements since she fulfills the boxes for these corporations. Her relationship with the fan base she required to genuinely thrive was further complicated by this contrived storyline, which caused a backlash as viewers and customers perceived the artificiality. It was a risky game that jeopardized her true attraction.
Folks, if I didn't tell you who this was, I wouldn't even know myself. If I wasn't told who this person is supposed to be here, I wouldn't even know myself. But the craziest part of all this is that they're using Iowa Hawkeyes colors to promote a UConn Husky play. Interesting. They're using Iowa Hawkeyes colors to promote a Dallas Wings play. Interesting. So they need to find something to connect Paige Bueckers to.
The desperate tactic of continuously attempting to link Paige to Caitlin Clark was frequently used in the attempts to artificially elevate her status. There were constant attempts to connect Bueckers to Clark in any manner, shape, or format during her junior and senior years, and even as a rookie in the WNBA. This persistent exploitation of another athlete's rising stardom revealed a lack of faith in Paige's capacity to succeed on her own, or, at the very least, a lack of innovative marketing. She was positioned as an accessory rather than developing her own unique brand, which ultimately hurt her star power more than it helped.
Dallas Wings play. Interesting. So they need to find something to connect Paige Bueckers to Caitlin Clark so people can even pay attention to this. And in case you guys don't know, the Dallas Wings colors, what is it? Dark blue, navy blue, and like a lime green, something like that. This is Iowa Hawkeye, yellow and black. Black and yellow, yeah. You know what shout out to Wiz Khalifa, it is what it is. Paige Bueckers is being incredibly forced upon us by ESPN, by WNBA.
Paige Bueckers was having an incredible senior year at UConn, being carried to a national championship by Aaliyah Edwards and Azzi Fudd, while Caitlin Clark dominated headlines as a WNBA rookie. Despite its harshness, this story highlighted a crucial perception difference. Her genuine marketability as a lead endorser was called into question by the media and corporate focus on her as a co-star rather than the indisputable solo power. It revealed a worrisome lack of faith in her unique charisma to drive sales and viewership, further fueling the notion that businesses were relying on her link with existing success rather than her own groundbreaking appeal.
Paige Bueckers is being incredibly forced upon us by ESPN, by WNBA reporters, and by these companies like Nike and Lego. Why is that? Well, because she checks the boxes. She checks the boxes. They tried to attach her to Caitlin Clark during Caitlin Clark's junior year, during Caitlin Clark's senior year. They tried to attach her to Caitlin Clark in any way, shape, or form that they possibly could. While Caitlin Clark is busy being a rookie in the WNBA.
A dismal image was presented by the WNBA's debut viewership figures. On average, only 639,000 people watched Paige Bueckers' debut on. This platform selection, which is usually saved for specialized audiences rather than the next big star athlete, was telling in and of itself. Her purported widespread appeal is seriously called into question by the figure, which stands in stark contrast to what a legitimately anticipated debut generates. It implied that the public wasn't paying attention at the levels anticipated for a player being supported for superstardom, despite the corporate push, suggesting a serious miscalculation of her immediate commercial appeal. In contrast, Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut exceeded all expectations with 2.12 million viewers. Positioned carefully on ESPN, the network aggressively sought out that game on their platform, knowing exactly what they had. There was more to this than just a numerical difference. The perceived value and strategic positioning differed. In 2025, ESPN skipped on other WNBA debuts, saying, "Know me that we won until Clark came along." The concept that some sportsmen are truly sought after while others are only tolerated was reinforced by this bold action by a major network, which sharply exposed the discrepancy in perceived market value. Even at the time of Clark's debut, many fans were unaware that WNBA basketball was available on ION. An incredible 70,000 people watched it. That's about 100,000 more views than Paige's debut before the network acquired any noteworthy momentum. The story of Paige's broad popularity was severely damaged by this aspect alone. It implied that Clark's gravitational influence was evident even on a remote station. This striking resemblance further revealed the manufactured aspect of Paige's star power, even though Paige's had trouble generating interest. The viewership figures continued to show a concerning pattern later in the season. A meager 260,000 people watched Paige Bueckers' NBA TV game, which pitted the Wings against Liberty. This figure pales in contrast to the record-breaking NBA TV games that Caitlin Clark hosted the year before, which regularly garnered 515,000 viewers. 570,000, 508,000, 60, 20,000, and even 740,000 viewers. The disparity was stark and devastating, demonstrating that the purportedly contrived motion and fourth-star story surrounding Paige was not translating into real, measurable numbers. These numbers demonstrated the public's sincere involvement. The corporate effort surrounding Paige is aptly described by the term manufactured motion. She was called a four-star, an athlete who is thrust upon the audience instead of being accepted organically. This top-down strategy, which was supported by networks and brands, produced a fake buzz that did not result in genuine fan interaction. It brought attention to a gap between the 570,000 corporate narrative and real customer interest, making an athlete feel less like a cherished icon and more like a required product, thus harming her brand's authenticity and long-term attractiveness. Another useful indicator was the attendance statistics for Paige's professional team, the Dallas Wings. Until a certain rival club or player came to town, the arena, which had fewer than 10,000 seats, was frequently not filled out, indicating a decline in interest. This reliance on outside sources rather than Paige herself to supply seats strengthened the claim that her draw alone was insufficient to regularly fill venues. It reinforced the idea that businesses were making investments in a player whose market effect was, at best, erratic and, at worst, greatly exaggerated, resulting in financial waste. Paige was designated the face of Unrivaled, a new league, in an effort to establish her as a significant personality. However, the prevailing opinion was that nobody gave a damn. This direct evaluation got right to the core of the problem. Corporate efforts to elevate her were continuous, but the public's interest didn't follow. If the public continued to be uninterested, the debut of Unrivaled with her as its face carried the risk of further diluting her brand. It was just another example of businesses funding a project without first fostering true public enthusiasm, which set her up for yet another perceived setback. This whole circumstance wasn't only a criticism of Paige Bueckers. It was a biting critique of businesses like Nike and Lego squandering money on crowd-pleasing rather than providing customers with what they truly desire. It appeared that these companies would prefer to lose money by releasing subpar work than make sincere investments in talented individuals who have demonstrated market appeal. It was obvious what was implied. Profitable, genuine participation was subordinated to a surface-level dedication to specific athletes. In the end, this short-sighted approach damaged the sportsmen as well as the brands, resulting in a vicious circle of discontent and financial loss. Paige's Nike logo was clearly labeled trash. It was a bucket devoid of depth or originality, a representation of corporate carelessness. The criticism was aimed at Nike for squandering their time and money on an athlete they don't truly care about, not toward Paige. The real scandal was this deliberate disregard. By neglecting to provide her the proper branding and strategic support, an athletic powerhouse was failing its star. Such a thoughtless strategy not only damaged her reputation but also revealed a startling lack of regard from the same organization that was supposed to promote her. The obvious lack of effort in even her Lego participation was questioned. "You claim that this is the best Lego that can be made." Naturally, the response was that if they really wanted to, they could. However, the fundamental problem was obvious. They don't wish to. Rather, they made the decision to satisfy a large number of people, which led to the creation of uninspired and fake goods. The athlete and the fans were ultimately harmed by this approach, which exposed a deeper cynical agenda that sacrificed quality and true investment for what seemed to be performative inclusivity. This terrible work's systemic character was exposed, showing how big businesses put performative gestures ahead of real athlete development and marketing strategy. This has nothing to do with personal skill. It was about a defective corporate mentality that prioritized ticking boxes over everything else. As a result, athletes like Paige suffered, deserved real investment rather than flimsy recommendations. Her career trajectory and the integrity of athlete partnerships were negatively impacted by this cynical approach, which fostered an environment where resources were exploited and actual potential was wasted. In the end, the point was that Paige Bueckers deserved better than this Nike logo and the general poor treatment, not that she lacks talent. The firm's shallow, resource-wasting strategy was their responsibility. Instead of making wise investments, they deliberately decided to throw out crap, keeping her out of the elite group of athlete endorsements. This methodical undermining disguised as an opportunity left she was in a dangerous situation and would have to fight hard to take back a story that had been handled so badly. Paige was in an oppressive environment as a result of these firms' combined efforts, the unpleasant labor of manufactured hype, and the wasteful use of resources. They didn't simply fall short of elevating her. By providing false, uninspiring affirmations, they deliberately undermined her potential and essentially removed her from the real pinnacle she could have occupied. The underlying issue was this deliberate carelessness motivated by serving particular narratives rather than market reality. A gifted athlete was forced to deal with a situation where tokenism took the place of real support, badly undermining her professional identity due to corporate apathy. Parents,